Good afternoon, you all. Good afternoon. Happy Thursday. Hope everyone has had a safe week and a productive week. I wanted to talk today about either or and how we limit our choices inside of this concept of either I can do this or I can do that. Either I can have this or I can have that. And the reason I wanted to bring this up today is because it's come up in several of my conversations over the last few weeks. What do you think about this? Should I either do this or should I do that? And it's something that I've heard a lot, even as I've supported my healthcare professionals as they've transitioned careers and started businesses. This whole process or this whole concept of either or. So the first thing that I have to say is that in terms of this either or, it really limits choice, right? Think about it. Think about when there's an abundance of choices. There's infinite choices out there. And some choices have more obstacles. Some choices have big barriers to them. But there are an infinite amount of choices that we can make day to day. And what happens is that we limit those choices when we start to talk about either or. Either I can be employed or I can, have my own business, right? When we begin to replace the either or with and, then it opens up multiple choices, okay? In fact, either or, and all of you who listen to me by now should know that I do this work in anti-racism, and either or is one of the symptoms or characteristics of white supremacy culture. And if you think about the history of how choices have been limited, then in our community, then it just seems like, either I can stay, with my people or I can ascend and integrate into this society, when it's really not that way. As a matter of fact, yesterday was it yesterday? Maybe it was yesterday, maybe it was the day before yesterday, I was asked the question, as we were talking about decolonizing mindset, ask the question, well, should we either create our own community or should we, integrate into the community and into the whole of the nation? And then my answer was, why not both, right? Why not and? Because there's benefit in and. There's benefit in multiple choice. There's benefit, we talk about, financial and career. There's benefit in multiple streams of income, right? Even in conversation, it's either I'm right or you're right, right? And in communication, if I'm right or you're right, then one person has to be wrong, right? Whereas it could be different points of view. Like we could take out right and wrong, and we could say different points of view. You understand what I'm saying? So if you're in communication with someone who's close to you, then one of the things you could practice is yes and. Because yes and does not invalidate another person. So either or, like it's very much related to there's only one right way, which is another characteristic or symptom of white supremacy culture, right? So if you think about there's only one right way and its relationship to either or, because there's only right way, you're either going to do it the right way or you're going to do it the wrong way. You're going to either going to do this way, you're going to do it that way. Let's talk about how this has impacted the divide between various communities of culture or within communities of color or within communities of color, right? So, either you're with us or you're not. Either you stand with us or you don't. Either either one community is more marginalized or the other community is more marginalized. Like really we have to begin to look at the depths of which the either or and the there's only one right way symptoms are a detriment to our lives on a global scale. Okay. When you think about there's only one right way and this relationship to either or, let's talk about how it impacts relationships, intimate partner relationships. There's only one right way to do a relationship. Either the man is in charge or the woman's in charge. Either you're this or you're that. There's only one, there's only one soulmate. There's only one love of my life. There's only one right way. And the impact that has in limiting our choices and limiting our ability to see all possibilities. Now, that doesn't mean, if there's multiple choices that we're not transparent and we don't move with integrity around that. All right. So there's that where we want to move. If we're exploring multiple choices, we always want to explore those choices with integrity and in communication, especially when it comes to relationships. And I just need to bring to awareness the amount of times that we use either or. So then how can we begin to increase choice in our life immediately, like today? Listen to the amount of times that you either think or you say or. Right? We have this or we could have that. I could have I could choose this dessert or I could choose that dessert. You could choose this dessert and you could choose that dessert, right? So I just, look at it from the day-to-day activities of your life. Look at it on a larger scale in your communication with your children, with your partner, with your spouse. Where are you having an or conversation either in your head or out loud? If you're in disagreement, where are you thinking it's either this or that? Where is there where are there ultimatums on the table? Now, that doesn't mean there's no place for boundaries, but we have to distinguish boundaries and from eliminating choice. So, and it's a very fine line. There are boundaries that have to be set. You do have to say no sometimes. You do have to say stop. You do have to set those limits. But notice when the either or is limiting your choice versus setting a boundary. And ask yourself every time you use the word or, is there an opportunity to increase your choice by replacing the or with and? In communication, if someone is making a point, if someone is speaking to you about their point of view, about what their perspective is, instead of saying yes, but, right now, I know we talked about the either or, but the but is related to or. So let's talk about the relationship really quick of the but. But is very closely, B-U-T, is very closely related to or in that it limits choice. It invalidates everything that was said before the conjunction but. Okay? So I hear what you're saying, but, rather than I hear what you're saying, and. And if you think of how that sounds different, and even if it was being spoken to you, how that is a different communication. I hear what you're saying, but. I hear it, but what you're saying, and. And so when you think about how that feels more differently, it feels like someone is actually listening to you and adding to your point of view rather than invalidating with the but. Okay? Even invalidating oneself with the but. I'd like to be able to start my own business, but I don't know anything about business. Or I'd like to have multiple streams of income, but I don't know what else I could do. How about I'd like to have multiple streams of income and I don't know what else to do. It increases the opportunity to say, well, okay, I don't know what else to do. And guess what? And I can look at what else to do. And I can explore, and I can ask other people. See how that increases choice when you use the word and? And so, as you go about your life, whether you're communicating with yourself, whether you're communicating with others, whether you're looking at opportunity and you're actually making choices for particular things in your life. You're making a choice for dinner. You're making a choice for relationship. You're making a choice for how you move with people. Think about the but versus the or, and the or, which limits choice. And think about the and, which increases choice. And remember that the or and the but is very closely related to there's only one right way. And when you think about that, it doesn't even make sense. We all know that there is multiple options out there. So, remember there are multiple ways, and that is the reason to use and. I'm just going to look at the comments. Yes, and definitely sounds better than but. And I'm glad that this has been helpful in terms of the communication. And this is the kind of thing that I teach in my trainings with neurolinguistic programming, and that's why I share it here, because some of these things are very simple, practical communication tools and tools for how you move in life, right? How you increase choice and be empowered in your own life, and that's what I'm about. And especially, in terms of, I want to go back a little bit to what I said about there's only one right way and the either or, and how that impacts communities of color, and specifically different communities, how it creates a divide between different communities of color, right? So when you think about the Asian and Black dynamic, because I'm bringing it up because of what just happened. I'm here in Atlanta, right down the street from a few of these spas in which this happens, so I'm kind of close to it. And you think about how our system is set up, how these symptoms of white supremacy culture, how these cultures are set up, and you look at, the either or, it begins to be challenging inside of communities of color to stand for each other, because it's like, well, either I'm more oppressed or you're more oppressed. Who's the most oppressed? And we could go down that rabbit hole, or right, we could go down that rabbit hole, and I really am limiting choice here, right? We could go down that rabbit hole, or we could look at increasing choice by saying, okay, I'm oppressed and you're oppressed inside of a system of white supremacy culture. How can we then support each other? And how can I now look at a community and have more compassion than maybe they've had for me in the past, right? How can I be supportive or stand in solidarity and still have mixed emotions about how it feels to support a community that may not have, or people who may not have supported me in the past, right? And it doesn't mean you have to. It's just, it's a place to stand. It's a place to think about. It's a place to muse, inside. And so these are harder questions to ask when we talk about either or, when we talk about there's only one right way. There's only one right way to approach this, And so that is, I like for people to be able to apply it to their own lives, but I also am about seeing the bigger picture, right? I process in big picture. And so I always apply things personally, but then I also look at what's the bigger picture of how this is not only impacting myself, but impacting the community around me, impacting, Black people, impacting other communities of color, because the system is set up the way it's set up, and it's doing damage to all communities of color. And we happen to be one of the most resilient Black people communities of color, because it has been a repeated trauma that we've had, a repeated trauma over and over again. And that doesn't diminish the impact of what's happening now to other communities that are being impacted as well. So I think it's something to think about. It's a hard thing to process sometimes. And even for me, it was a hard thing to process. And then because of the work that I do with myself, and because I can use the and increase choice and be empowered in, I feel what I feel, and I can still, listen and be in solidarity and stand against oppression and racism against any person of color, right? Then I can be with the all of it. And that's probably the most powerful place to be, is to be able to be with the all of it. And if you can be with all of it on that scale, then you can begin to be with all of it even in your own life personally. So this is a way to stand and be empowered in one's life and have all of the choices available to you. Okay, so I know I was wrapping it up and then I went down a whole nother path. And that's what I do. That is what I do sometimes, because I really want to make sure that you all get the messages that you need to get for your life, and to empower you, to empower your community, to empower your relationships, to empower your family, your parenting, all of the above. And of course, if you feel like you want more of this, you're going to obviously see me on lives often enough. But if you want to go deeper, and you want to do this deep work to begin to heal, pass down trauma, pass down conversations that you feel like are keeping you stuck in the mud, stuck emotionally, stuck mentally, then you can reach out to me and we can schedule a free wake-up call, and we can talk about what's next for you. If you feel like you have been following this work of NLP, this work of hypnosis, and you think, well, maybe I want to get trained, reach out to me as well. The link in my bio will take you to the Academy page, where you can book a free wake-up call with me, or you can book a training interest call with me. And we do have a training coming up this summer. So you guys have a wonderful rest of the day. Stay safe. Wonderful rest of the week. Listen to yourself. Listen to the words that are coming out of your mouth. I know I say it all the time. Listen to yourself. Listen to how many times you invalidate yourself by saying but. Listen to how many times you limit your choices by saying or. Distinguish whether your or is setting a boundary for healthy purposes, or whether it is decreasing, you're limiting your choices. And begin to replace the or with the and. Okay? So that you can increase your choices and empower yourself. And that's all I have for today. You guys have a great rest of the week, and I'll see you next week on the next live. Oh, remember to check out the podcast, Remap Your Mind. We're coming out some good guests, y'all. Woo, it's been really great. And we've had some really good ones so far. And it's only going to get better, because I am connecting with more and more amazing people, one of who was on the live with me today. So, all right, you guys. Thank you, Dietrich. I will see you guys on the next live. Have a great one. Bye.